The blade was cold against my throat, its edge whispering promises of oblivion. I knelt in the shadow of the crown prince, his cruel laughter echoing through the marble halls of the palace. My wrists bound, my dignity stripped. In that life, I was nothing but his plaything, branded as his pet until I wasn't. My name is Elias Kane, and I died at 22, betrayed by the man I once loved. Reborn into the same wretched world. I woke in a Brooklyn alley, gasping, my hands clutching the same scars that marked my past life. This time, I swore, Prince Adrian would never touch me again, not my body, not my heart. New York City, 2025, buzzed with life. A stark contrast to the suffocating opulence of the royal court I remembered. At 20, I was a barista by day, a street artist by night, painting my rage across abandoned walls. My memories of that past life haunted me, Adrian's piercing blue eyes, his honeyed lies, the way he'd made me believe I was special before chaining me to his whims. I'd been a fool, seduced by power, blinded by love. But this life was mine. I was sketching in an alley one humid summer night when I saw him. Not Adrian, but someone new, someone who made my heart stutter. He leaned against a graffiti-stained wall, his blonde curls catching the neon glow of a nearby sign. His name was Luca, a photographer with a quiet intensity, his camera always slung around his neck like a talisman. "Nice work," he said, nodding at my Murala Phoenix rising from chains. His voice was soft, but it carried a weight that made me pause. I didn't trust easily, not after Adrian. But Luca's eyes held no malice, only curiosity. We started meeting in that alley, night after night. I'd paint, he'd snap photos, and we'd talk about everything: art, dreams, the way the city never slept. Luca had a way of seeing through me, not past me. "You carry something heavy," he said one night, his lens trained on my face. "Want to share it?" I laughed it off, but the truth clawed at my chest. I was carrying a lifetime of betrayal. A prince's brand burned into my soul. Weeks turned into months, and Luca became my anchor. He didn't push, didn't pry, but his presence was a balm to my jagged edges. One night, under a sky bruised with storm clouds, he kissed me. It was tentative, like he was asking permission, and I froze, memories of Adrian's possessive grip flooding back. But Luca wasn't him. His touch was gentle, his lips warm, and for the first time, I felt safe. "I'm not going anywhere," he whispered, and I wanted to believe him. But fate is a cruel bastard. One evening, as I locked up the coffee shop, a black SUV screeched to a halt. Men in suits dragged me into an alley, their grips bruising. "Elias Kane," a voice purred, and my blood ran cold. "Adrian." He stepped from the shadows, older but unmistakable, those same blue eyes, that same predatory smile. "Did you think you could escape me?" he asked, his voice dripping with mockery. He wasn't a prince here, not in this world, but he carried the same arrogance, the same hunger for control. He ran a tech empire now, a billionaire with a god complex, and somehow, he'd found me. How? I spat, struggling against the hands pinning me. Adrian smirked, twirling a knife that glinted under the streetlights. "You're mine, Elias. Always have been." My past life flashed before May's promises. His cruelty, the way he'd paraded me as his pet before discarding me. I died because of him. And now he wanted to claim me again. But I wasn't that boy anymore. I need one of his goons. Breaking free. And ran. My heart pounded as I wove through Brooklyn's streets. Adrian's laughter chasing me. I ended up at Luca's apartment, banging on his door, my breath ragged. When he opened it, concern etched his face. Elias, what's wrong? I collapsed into his arms, the weight of 2 lifetimes crashing down. I told him everything me past life. Adrian, the brand that still burned in my dreams. Luca listened, his hand steady on mine. And when I finished, he didn't flinch. We'll face him together, he said, and I knew I'd found something Adrian could never take. Luca's apartment became my sanctuary, but safety was an illusion. Adrian's shadow loomed everywhere as men watching from corners, his calls flooding my phone with blocked numbers. He wasn't just hunting me. He was toying with me, savoring my fear. But fear wasn't all I felt. Rage simmered beneath it, a fire stoked by memories of my past life's humiliation. I'd been reborn for a reason, and it wasn't to cower. Luca and I devised a plan. Adrian's tech empire, Nexus Corp, was his throne in this world, built on secrets and intimidation. If I could expose him, I could break his hold on me. Luca, with his photographer's eye for detail, had connection journalists, hackers, people who owed him favors. We need proof, he said, his voice steady as we pored over files in his dimly lit living room. Something to show the world who he really is. We started small, digging into Nexus's public records. Luca's friend, a hacker named Riley, uncovered whispers of illegal dealings, money laundering, coercion, silenced whistleblowers. But Adrian was careful, his tracks covered by layers of corporate bullshit. I grew restless, my nights plagued by dreams of chains and Adrian's mocking laughter. Luca noticed. You're not alone in this, he'd say, pulling me close. His kisses were my lifeline, grounding me when the past threatened to swallow me whole. One night, Riley called us to a seedy bar in Queens. Got something, she said, sliding a USB drive across the table. It held emails linking Adrian to a network of exploited workers, people he'd manipulated much like he'd done to me in my past life. My hands shook as I read them, the words blurring with my anger. This could ruin him, Luca said, his eyes fierce. But I knew Adrian had burned the world before letting his empire fall. We decided to leak the files to a journalist. But Adrian was always one step ahead. The night we planned to meet the reporter, his men ambushed us outside Luca's studio. I fought back, my fists fueled by years of suppressed rage. But there were too many. Luca took a hit to the jaw, blood trickling down his chin, and something in me snapped. I tackled the nearest thug, screaming, "You don't touch him." We barely escaped, ducking into a subway station, our breaths heaving as we hid in the crowd. At Luca's, we patched each other up, the air thick with unspoken fears. I can't lose you, I admitted, my voice cracking. Luca cupped my face, his thumb brushing my cheek. You won't, he promised. And we made love that night, desperate and raw, as if the world might end by morning. His touch erased Adrian's brand, rewriting my scars with something pure. But Adrian wasn't done. The next day, a package arrived at the coffee shop, a photo of me and Luca, taken from a distance, with a note, "You can't hide." My blood ran cold. He wasn't just after me. He wanted to break Luca too. I wanted to run, to protect Luca by leaving. But he wouldn't let me. We end this together, he said, his voice unwavering. So we doubled down, working with Riley to hack deeper into Nexus's servers. We found a video of Adrian bribing a senator, undeniable proof of his corruption. The plan was set: leak the video, expose him, and watch his empire crumble. But as we prepared, I couldn't shake the feeling that Adrian knew. His silence was too loud, his absence too deliberate. The night before the leak, Luca and I sat on his fire escape, the city sprawling below us. "Whatever happens," he said, "I'm proud of you." I kissed him, my heart full and terrified, knowing we were walking into a storm. The leak went live at dawn, the video spreading like wildfire across X and every major news outlet. Adrian's face was everywhere, his smug grin frozen in guilt as the world saw him for what he was. Nexus's stock plummeted, and protests erupted outside his Manhattan penthouse. Luca and I watched from a safe house Riley had secured, our hands clasped, barely believing we'd done it. But victory tasted bitter. Adrian wasn't the type to go quietly. He found us by nightfall. The safe house door splintered, and his men stormed in. I shoved Luca behind me, my heart racing as Adrian stepped forward, his eyes glinting with rage. "You think you've won?" he sneered, a gun in his hand. "You're still mine, Elias." His words were a knife, slicing open old wounds. But I stood tall. "I was never yours." I spat. "Not then. Not now." Luca lunged, knocking the gun from Adrian's hand, and chaos erupted. I fought with everything I had, my fists a blur, my mind screaming one truth: I wouldn't let him win again. Luca and I took down his men, but Adrian was relentless, his strength fueled by obsession. He grabbed me, his fingers digging into my arm, and for a moment, I was back in that palace, helpless. But then Luca's voice cut through: "Elias, now." And I drove my elbow into Adrian's face, sending him staggering. We tied him up, the police already on their way, alerted by Riley. As sirens wailed closer, Adrian laughed, a broken, desperate sound. "You'll never be free of me," he said, but his words held no power. I looked at Luca, bruised but unbroken, and felt a weight lift. "I already am," I said, and for the first time, I believed it. The aftermath was a blur: arrests, headlines, Nexus's collapse. Adrian's trial was a spectacle, his empire reduced to ashes. Luca and I stayed out of the spotlight, rebuilding in the quiet moments. We moved to a small coastal town in Maine, far from the city's chaos. I painted again, my art no longer fueled by rage, but by hope. Luca's photos captured our new life: lazy mornings, shared laughter, the way the ocean stretched endless before us. One evening, as we walked along the shore, Luca stopped, pulling me close. "You're my home," he said, his voice soft against the crash of waves. I kissed him, my heart full, knowing I'd found something stronger than revenge, love that didn't demand my soul. My past life scars remained, but they no longer defined me. I was reborn, not to destroy, but to live freely, fiercely, with Luca by my side. The world kept turning, but for us, it was enough to stand together, unbroken, under a sky that promised new beginnings. Adrian had branded me once, but I'd rewritten my story. And this time, it was mine to keep.